Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. So we've made it to the last 3 weeks of the semester-ish, and it's December 1st, so it's the first day you can really say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and no one will have a fuss about it, and man, am I excited. It's like, go ahead.
I've already started listening to Christmas music.
Yeah, I got the Christmas music on, I got the Mariah Carey, I got the Frank Sinatra, I got the good stuff playing.
Yeah, Mariah Carey's defrosted and ready to go.
Yeah, and most importantly, welcome back to Mr. Wins Weekly. And so, today I got a great book for us. It's one of the best nonfiction books I've ever read. It's called Tools of Titans, The Tactics, Routines, and Habits of Billionaires, Icons, and World-Class Performers. It's written by Tim Ferriss, who's also written The 4-Hour Workweek and The 4-Hour Body. And so this book has three main sections of healthy, wealthy, and wise. And so there's a bunch of famous people who explain their successful people who have really good either health habits, like business habits, and smart wisdom to share with everyone. And so why I love this book is so you can personalize this book to you, because there's techniques on how to be more productive, get more sleep, be a better artist, be a better athlete, mental health performance, just regular physical wellness performance, and even investing advice, and just all this advice to it. So to start, I want to read you a couple names of famous people who are featured in this book. And so there's hundreds of chapters, short chapters with just a lot of great advice. And so some really famous people that everyone will recognize who have a chapter in this book is Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jocko Willink, it's got Jamie Foxx, it's got famous authors like Brené Brown, Malcolm Gladwell. There's hundreds of more people. That's like 4 out of like 100. So it's a great book. And so to give you some example, some wisdom you might find in this book, one of the most interesting people in this book is a guy called Tony Robbins. And what he did is he's a performance coach who has advised people like Bill Clinton, Serena Williams, Leonardo DiCaprio, Oprah, Nelson Mandela, Mikhail Gorbachev, Margaret Thatcher, Princess Diana, Mother Teresa, and other US presidents. And so to give just a quick example, some stuff you can find in this book, a quote that guides this guy's life, it says, what's important is belief that life is always happening for us, not to us, and it's our job to find out where the benefit is. If we do, life is magnificent. And some other stuff is stressed is the achiever word for fear. Losers react, leaders anticipate. Mastery doesn't come from an infographic. What you know doesn't mean shit. It's what you do consistently that matters. And so this is a quote he gives us from Warren Buffett about the best investment Warren Buffett's ever made. And so he says that investing in yourself is the most important investment you'll ever make in your life. There's no financial investment that'll ever match it, because if you develop more skill, more ability, more insight, more capacity, that's what's really going to provide economic freedom. It's those skill sets that really make that happen. If you let your learning lead to action, you become wealthy.
That was a very quick excerpt.
Yeah.
I did not expect it to go that shortly.
Yeah.
But, actually this reminds me of something that one of my professors told me recently, or told our class recently.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a very famous playwright. Or maybe not very famous, but he's very well known.
Successful.
Yeah, at least in his community around like the Metro Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
And so last week in one of our classes, he was talking about how he had a couple of features in books that talked about some of the 100 best plays out there.
Mm-hmm.
They were all edited by the same person.
Oh yeah.
So it just so happened that my professor knew this person who was able to get his plays into these books. Wow. But he seems to have the skill set to be able to get these plays in the books in the first place, because he's been doing this for years.
Uh-huh.
So on top of having a skill set, how much would you say it's valuable to just know the right people?
Yeah, knowing people is extremely important, and so that's what I like about this book is it gives you advice of how to expand your network of people. And so I guess the easiest way to do that is to go out there and do stuff and diversify yourself. And so, you know, like for example, one thing I did is this summer, I didn't just stick to one summer job. I had 2 summer jobs. I had an internship and I did some biomedical engineering research. And so I was able to meet people in the engineering industry and in the research side of things. And, you know, I know this is a great quote from Jordan Peterson. He's like, if you know 10 people who know 10 people who know 10 people, it's like it scales exponentially. So if you know 100 people who know 100 people, that's, you know, 1 million people that you can potentially become in contact with. So it's even knowing your first 10 people will lead to 10 more people, which is 100 people, you know. So it's important to make those initial contacts. And so stuff like that is really important, which this book goes over great. And so
I remember last year when we were in the same calculus class.
Yeah.
Like the first time I met you was literally before the final. It was like, you know, I don't know how this is gonna go down, but it's Christmas soon.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep that in mind, get through the hard times, and eventually it'll be Christmas. You know, there's gonna be presents under the tree, you're gonna see your family, there's gonna be good food, all of it, everything.
Yeah.
So would you say your book is like the healthiest form of short form content out there?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's much better than, you know, scrolling through TikTok. Like, because a lot of people, when they get overwhelmed, like, well, I'm just going to sit in TikTok for an hour. It's like, instead of doing that, spend 15 minutes just to read like a chapter or two. Like, you'll feel much more motivated to get back to work. And so that's why I like it a lot. And so I think, you know, it's been an interesting semester. You know, I think back to, you know, we're sophomores now. Like last year, I was way overwhelmed. You know, I didn't know what to do. It was hard to sit down and study. It was so hard because like, oh, there's so much. Is it even worth it? You know. But now that I've learned from that, I'm back again to the same spot that I was. You know, end of winter semester, end of last fall semester. I'm like, you know, I got it this time. You know, I just gotta set my cards right. And so instead of wasting time on my phone or instead of wasting time, I can really, you know, get my cards together. Then once the test comes, start playing aces, you know, get them aces down and start winning big. And so when Christmas time comes, you're so satisfied that it's not just the thought of the holiday being there. It's like, man, I really did good this semester. That's really pushing me, you know.
Strategic thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, I want to go back to the point that you were talking about where you were saying like, oh, people just go on TikTok for an hour to avoid the stress. And that actually reminded me of, you know, another TikTok I saw earlier, but also something that I've been experiencing as a result of just this huge platter of things that I have in my semester. And it's like, I have to balance all of these things with my time because time is a finite resource, and I don't have unlimited time to do everything I want in a single day. But it's also like, you know, sometimes I'll go on my phone and spend time on social media for a good amount, and it's like, oh, I don't have time to do this thing. But you literally just spent 1 hour on Instagram or on TikTok.
I have no time, but I have 4 hours on TikTok every day.
I gotta get that short form content scrolling time in. So dopamine cycle.
Yeah.
So you know, how do people get through that like pattern or that initial habit or that like neuron connection? It's like monkey thinking, or it's like, oh, I gotta go on my phone.
No, I struggle with that a lot. You know, everyone does. You know, it's more than just how do you say it? Procrastination, yeah. It's more than that, because like it's just like, you know, like I said, it's a dopamine cycle, that loop. How do you break the loop? That's a great question. And so it's like, you gotta first recognize it. It's like, okay, I have this problem. I have studying to do. I have hard stuff to do, but I'm in this loop. And so come back to the quote I gave earlier, I think it comes back to investing in yourself for your future. And so there was another guy in this book. He was a billionaire. You know, he's a pretty old guy because he started investing in like 70s and 80s, and he went through multiple economic depressions. You know, 2008 depression. There's depression in the late 70s and stuff like that. And so what he talked about was always moving forward. Is, you know, the most important thing is having a forward center mindset of not in the past, not now. It's like, okay, what am I doing now? How is that affecting my future? And so it's like, as we're young, it's like, let's think about, what you think about is like, okay, how much money am I going to make per hour once I have my degree? It's like, okay, let's say you make $30 an hour. It's like, well, your time now, even though you're not getting paid, you're working towards that every hour being worth $30 an hour. And it's like, if you were every hour you were getting paid $30 an hour, would it be worth it just to sit on TikTok like if someone was paying you $30 an hour, would sitting on TikTok be worth it, or it'd be more worth it to read a good book and expand your mindset so you're able to work harder, able to achieve the dreams you want to achieve instead of just sitting on TikTok? It's like, that's not worth it, but it's worth it to be paid so I can grow my business or start a business, or even just be able to take care of people I care about, either whether that's financially or just being, having that mental strength and hard work capacity to be able to take care of other people because you are strong enough to handle that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's important things to keep in mind when you're feeling that overwhelm. It's like, no, I actually have an important life to live and I have things to do and I need to be looking forward, not to, this week's gonna be a bad week, but yeah, in a couple of years you're gonna be making money. And so you have to learn how to handle that grind now, so when it's there, you're able to handle it and not just, I'm overwhelmed, but now I'm 30 years old and I have a job, but I'm feeling at my job because all I want to do is sit on TikTok. Like, that's not okay, Maybe there's excuse of, I'm young or whatever, but it's like, you're going to be old sooner than later, So you got to work on it now instead of later.
This is a huge existential crisis moment.
Yeah.
For real.
No, for real. It always feels like that. So that's how you've got to get past that, just keep looking forward to what you want out of life instead of, because, what you want out of life is not in TikTok.
For sure. Got to keep up with the struggle.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But other than that, I don't know if there's anything that we really need to talk about, unless you want to give some advice from another person.
Oh, I love this. This is actually the same person, but he gives more clarity and other stuff. And so a great way to start your mornings is he talks about your state, story, and strategy. When you tell yourself a story, everyone's telling themselves their own story. And so a lot of times maybe it's, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. And when you start with that story, it's not actually because you're actually overwhelmed. It's that you have a lower emotional state. And so you see problems, but you don't see solutions because you're just in that, I'm overwhelmed state. But if you raise your emotional state and you give yourself a better story, then you're able to come up with effective strategies to, do well on your finals or tackle the problems you face at hand. And so talks about priming your state first. So you have your biochemistry helps you proactively tell yourself an enabling story instead of like a disenabling story of, I can't do this because I'm too stressed or overwhelmed. And then once you have an enabling story, then you'll be able to get effective strategies. So you don't start from low emotional state, negative story, then you get no solution. So you start from positive state, then you get enabling story, and then you're able to tackle your problems with actual real strategies. And so what he talks about is sometimes is like, we said this was an existential crisis, but a lot of times you'll waste time in the morning because you think you have to figure out your life purpose, but really you just need, take a moment to realize just to give yourself a better state. And it's like, once you're in a positive state, then you don't need to figure out your life's purpose. You just need to get a good strategy for tackling the problems at hand. And then, you realize, okay, this isn't as big a deal as I initially thought. I don't have to figure out my entire life story right now. It's not a big existential crisis. I just need to prepare myself to have an effective strategy to tackle this one problem. It's not, my whole life's not a problem. It's just this one problem, So
it's just grounding, basically.
Yeah, grounding yourself. And so not going too big because it's just finals, like your life is so long. It's like, this is a short part of your life. It's 3 weeks of your entire life, And so I know right now it feels like, but in hindsight, it's not going to feel as big a deal,
Yeah, that's for real. But other than that, I'm going to cut it short because we're nearing 17 minutes. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, no, we always have a lot of stuff to talk about when we film together. But, thank you so much for joining us again. I think this was a great semester for our show.
Yeah, this was a great semester. Merry Christmas. I'm glad we were able to do this. I hope everyone has a happy holidays and get through the finals, ground yourself, get a good strategy, and tackle the finals hard.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas, everyone. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, we wish you a happy new year and a good holiday break. And we will see you next year on Mr. Wins Weekly.